Hey everybody, Qroo here. Welcome to the channel. Yesterday I did a video on how to conjugate into the present subjunctive mood, and I know that for some people that's the first time you've even ever heard of the present subjunctive mood in Spanish, so I want to follow that video up with this one, and this one's just going to be a little introduction into how to use the subjunctive, and I'm really only going to be focusing on one super useful construction in Spanish that I use basically every day. And if you don't already know the subjunctive, this is really going to boost your Spanish as well. So first things first, I know there's some confusion also when I use the word mood. So I want to explain the difference between tenses and moods. Well, tenses are like present tense, past tense, future tense, but within tenses, you can actually have moods. So in the present tense in Spanish, we have three moods. The first one is the indicative mood. Now, when you learn the present tense in Spanish, like how to conjugate it, this is what you learned. You learned how to conjugate into the indicative mood. The next mood is the subjunctive mood, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, I can tell you that the subjunctive mood is just as important as the indicative mood, and it is used constantly in Spanish. If you're only using the indicative mood, there are so many things that you just can't say correctly in Spanish. In spite of that, the subjunctive is often overlooked by students, especially English-speaking students, because it's not that important in English, so they don't realize how important it is in Spanish. Now, our third mood is going to be the imperative mood, also known as the command form. We're not going to be talking about that today. That's not a difficult one to learn. That's when you basically give commands. Ven acá, come here, siéntate, sit down, things like that. Today it's going to be indicative, subjunctive, and how they work together. Take a look at this English sentence. I want to go to the beach. Let's translate that. Quiero ir a la playa. Now, quiero is conjugated in the indicative, right? Just your plain old present tense. Now let's look at a question. Do you want to go to the beach? How do we translate that? ¿Quieres ir a la playa? Quieres is still in the indicative. You can say things like that. You can say what you want to do. You can ask people what they want to do, just with the indicative. Now take a look at this sentence. I want you to go to the beach. You cannot translate this sentence in Spanish if you don't know the subjunctive. That sentence will look like this. Quiero que vayas a la playa. I know that looks a little awkward for the English. What this literally says is, I want that you go to the beach. So that's how I want you to think of it. I want that something occurs. Now, the first verb, quiero, that's conjugating the indicative, right? But vayas, in the second part, that comes from the verb ir, and that is in the subjunctive. How do we know when to use the subjunctive? Well, here's a couple rules. One is we're going to have a subject change in the sentence. Take a look at this, and we're going to think of it in our English way. I want that you go to the beach. How many subjects do I have? Two. It's I and you. So that's our first thing when we know to use the subjunctive. I have a subject change. So I want you to think of this kind of like two clauses, right? Because we have two subjects. Now, if in the first clause there is a verb of desire, influence, or recommendation, somehow that first clause is trying to influence or express a desire that the subject in the second part of the clause does something, that's going to trigger our subjunctive. Querer, to want, is definitely falling in that category of desire or influence or even recommendation over the person in the second clause. For you to remember this in English, I want you to always think, I want that something occurs. Think of it kind of like a formula. Querer, que plus subjunctive. Querer, que plus subjunctive. All right, let's say we flip it. Do you want me to go to the beach? Change your English a little bit. Do you want that I go to the beach? Because that's what we're actually translating. Quieres que, do you want that? That first one is still in the indicative. Vaya a la playa, or yo vaya a la playa. The thing I have to point out about the subjunctive is that it conjugates in the first person, I, the same way it does in the third person, singular. So there can be some confusion. Still, if there's only two people talking, I'm talking to you, there's no reason for me to say yo because you know who I'm talking about. But if it was unclear, I could stick it in there. ¿Quieres que yo vaya a la playa? But if it's just two people talking, get in the habit of leaving those out. ¿Quieres que vaya a la playa? Some people have asked for videos where I actually give you some exercises that you can work through on your own. So I'm going to go ahead and incorporate that into this. You're going to be using that formula I gave you, querer que plus subjunctive, and translating English sentences into Spanish using the subjunctive. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to give you an English sentence like this. What do you want me to do? So when you see a sentence like this one, what do you want me to do? First thing I want you to think of is think in English, what do you want that I do? Because that's exactly what you're translating. What do you want that? ¿Qué quieres que? That part's pretty easy, right? That's in the indicative. Now, how do we say to do? Hacer. So we have to conjugate that. Haga. ¿Qué quieres que haga? Are you ready to try some on your own? All right, here's your first one. Do you want me to wash the car? ¿Quieres que lave el carro? Do you have something like that? Now you may have said coche, vehículo. That's not important what word you use for car, but your beginning part should be ¿Quieres que lave? Comes from the verb lavar, to wash. All right, let's go do another one. Do you want me to paint the house? ¿Quieres que pinte la casa? ¿Quieres que pinte la casa? Yes, I want you to paint the house. Sí, quiero que pintes la casa. Do you want me to go to the supermarket? ¿Quieres que vaya al supermercado? Or you might have said al super. ¿Quieres que vaya al super? No, I want you to go to the bank to deposit a check. No, quiero que vayas al banco a depositar un cheque. Did you get that one? It was a little longer. Do you want me to take out the garbage? And in this one, I want you to use the verb sacar. ¿Quieres que saque la basura? Did you get the spelling change in there? Remember that sometimes those roots are going to change. If you're having trouble with that, just go watch that first video again. I cover a lot of it there. Next sentence. Yes, but first, I want you to set the table. If you don't know set the table, it is poner la mesa. Sí, pero primero quiero que pongas la mesa. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult. Do you want me to bring you something? Now, just break it down the way I showed you. Do you want that I bring you something? ¿Quieres que te traiga algo? ¿Quieres que te traiga algo? Did you get it? All right. What do you want me to bring you? ¿Qué quieres que te traiga? You can work this into Spanish you already know. Are you cold? Do you want me to bring you a jacket? ¿Tienes frío? ¿Quieres que te traiga una chaqueta? All right, how'd you do on those? Did you do okay? All right, that's enough for the exercise for now. This construction is super, super useful. I use it at home with my wife when we're having conversations, but I also use it when I'm out. Now, if I'm out and I'm speaking to somebody, I'll tweak the construction a little bit and I'll end up saying quiere because I'm speaking in usted form, right? Which is the more formal you. So if I'm still just speaking to one person, I don't always put the word usted in. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, if it's very clear. So let's say I'm at the bank and they're like, sign here, and I'm verifying. Do you want me to sign here? ¿Quiere que firme aquí? ¿Quiere que firme aquí? Or ¿quiere usted que firme aquí? So if you want to put that usted in, you just put it in after that first verb. Do you want me to wait here? ¿Quiere que espere aquí? Or ¿quiere usted que espere aquí? Now, so far, we've only talked about I and you and things like that. But this construction is useful all the time. Even if we're talking about other people, I might say something to my wife like, hey, do you want the painters to come tomorrow morning? ¿Quieres que los pintores vengan mañana por la mañana? Or you could say mañana en la mañana. We say en la mañana a lot more in Mexico. Now, word order is a lot more flexible. So I could say something like, ¿Quieres que vengan los pintores? I could put painters after the verb, mañana por la mañana, or mañana en la mañana. Let's say she answers, no, I want them to come Thursday. Quiero que vengan el jueves. When you do days of the week, you don't say like en jueves, like on Thursday like we do. In English, you say the Thursday. So do you see how useful this particular construction is? you can work it into your Spanish immediately and start practicing the subjunctive. You can have a conversation, you know, say with your significant other or a friend. ¿Qué quieres que haga? What do you want me to do? ¿Quieres que pinte la casa? You want me to paint the house? ¿Quieres que saque la ropa de la secadora? Do you want me to take the clothes out of the dryer? ¿Quieres que lave el carro? You want me to wash the car? You can practice this construction all day long. Well, I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and let me know the feedback if you kind of like the exercise part of it, or if you prefer me just to talk and you're more passive learning. I don't know, I'm open to all of it. I'm not sure when I'm going to do my next video. It's not that I don't have interest in the channel. It's just that I'll be traveling the next 3 weeks a lot in Mexico. So we'll see what we can work out. Maybe we'll do some from the road. We'll see. Well, thanks so much for supporting the channel and continue to watch the videos. And until next time, hasta luego.